deGrom gone from the New York Mets as he signs a whopping 5-year, $185 million contract with the Texas Rangers. The most talented pitcher in baseball for many, as I said, is now going to Texas, a team that is desperate for some starting pitching. A quick check of their roster shows John Gray is their number one. Now deGrom will be that guy. The 34-year-old spent all 9 seasons of his major league career with the New York Mets, opting on the final 2 years of his contract, despite the fact he threw only 64 1/3 innings in 2022. He, by the way, includes a conditional 6th-year option that would make the deal $222 million in total. It's got a full no-trade clause. Those are the details, according to our friend Jeff Passan over at ESPN. The winter meetings beginning just in a couple days in San Diego, and they get kicked off here with some massive news. We'll bring in our friend John Palmarosa right now. JP, so much for a Friday night news dump. This is massive news involving deGrom. My first thought was this. I knew he'd get at least 3 years, maybe 4. 5 for 185. The length of that contract, John, considering the durability issues, that's pretty impressive that Texas was able to say, we're investing, and we're investing long term.
Adnan, good evening. Quite a night in Major League Baseball for all the reasons that you mentioned, and I think it says a couple things. Number one, just how badly the Rangers needed that elite level pitching, that they would go to a 5th year for someone, as you point out, who did not even throw 70 innings in the major leagues in 2022. I think it also speaks to the reality that this is where Jacob deGrom wants to pitch for potentially the rest of his career. He's 34 years old. We have not seen a pitcher this talented this late in his career go to Arlington since perhaps Nolan Ryan himself. This is a very significant transaction for the Rangers. Ranger officials early on in this offseason kept telling me, Adnan, we need to get a lot of pitching, multiples of pitching. Well, they trade for Jake Odorizzi. They bring back Martin Perez, and now they land Jacob deGrom. As you do the math there quickly, I always say never do math on TV, but this is a pretty easy one. 185 over 5 means $37 million a year. That's the second highest AAV for a pitcher in Major League history after only his now former teammate in New York, Max Scherzer. And Adnan, I'm sure that our next conversation topic is going to be what it means for the Mets. They certainly have a lot of work to do to just try to get back to where they were this past year, which, as we know, was not enough to get past the Padres and Joe Musgrove. They have not only now lost Jacob deGrom, but they also have Chris Bassett and Taijuan Walker, both unsigned as well.
Yeah, and to compete your point there, and I like the fact we showed the Max Scherzer, because that's a real comp here, right, JP? You go, all right, 3 years of big money, but deGrom is younger, and therefore gets a lot more, even if the AAV isn't as high as Scherzer. This tweet here from Mike Puma does a great job covering the Mets for the New York Post. The Mets never got to a final offer with Jacob deGrom, according to a source. That furthers your point that this is where deGrom wanted to go. Wanted to go to Texas. Hey, full no-trade clause. They're going to give me 5 years. Lack of state tax, $37 million a year, plays more than what it would be in other states in the country. So it makes sense for him.